The story begins one morning when Mi Rae was trying to enjoy her life, but she was shocked to see corporate workers walking around like zombies. It turned out that the fear she felt was just a dream. Her mom, Yun, woke her up and told her to hurry for work. Things started to go wrong when a yellow car blocked Mi Rae's car, making her frustrated, especially since she couldn't contact the owner. Left with no choice, Mi Rae had to take public transportation and tried to sneak in some sleep on the way. Meanwhile, her mom took her time since her supermarket job started later. An old man who lived in Unit 302 owned the apartment they were renting, but another man upset Mi Rae again when he barged into their apartment. At J+, where Mi Rae worked, she needed coffee to survive, even though she looked pale. Suddenly, the CEO, Mr. Num, arrived for an inspection, causing panic among the workers. They rushed to the supermarket to welcome him, even though most weren't ready with new promotion ideas. J+, and Fan-B company with many supermarkets, relied on Mi Rae and her team to come up with new products to boost sales. Mr. Num was furious because nothing was going right, including Mi Rae's idea of making tteokbokki. Mi Rae's mom handled this product, and Mi Rae explained that tteokbokki was the best promotion for kids. The kids were pulling their moms to buy it, and customers could even make fried rice from the leftovers. Amid all the stress, Mi Rae fainted. But before she passed out, she asked not to tell her mom because she didn't want her to worry. At that time, Mi Rae felt a comforting warmth as a man carried her to the hospital. Soon after, Mi Rae woke up to find the man who carried her introducing himself as Tae-Pyong, a security guard at the supermarket. When Mi Rae tried to get up, the nurse told Tae-Pyong not to let her leave until the 4-drip was finished. And Mi Rae, feeling fine, insisted she could take care of herself, so Tae-Pyong eventually left. Suddenly, Mi Rae's mom called to tell her that their apartment was on fire. Panicked, Mi Rae rushed to the apartment, completely forgetting to pay the hospital bill. When they arrived at the apartment, Mi Rae and her mom were worried. Although they didn't have anything valuable inside, their dog Metal was still inside. Thankfully, Metal had already escaped safely. Meanwhile, Mi Rae's younger brother, Hyun-jae, wasn't much of a concern since the family often saw him as a burden for still being in college. Turns out, the fire had only affected Unit 302, so the residents were relieved. But then they realized the apartment owner, who lived in that unit, hadn't made it out. After the fire was extinguished, the owner was found dead. In the days that followed, the residents started discussing how strange the fire seemed. Jong Hyuk believed the fire had been set on purpose, either for revenge or money, but the others laughed it off, not believing something so horrible could happen in their neighborhood. Then, Jong-in received news that someone had recently purchased the apartment. Things got even more suspicious when Jong-in, Yun, and Mrs. Huang from Unit 201 were called for a meeting the next day. No one knew why, but burnt matchsticks were found behind the building, making it seem like the fire was indeed intentional. The next day, during lunch break, their team leader, Park, started talking about his happy family. He suggested that his co-workers, especially Mi Rae, should get married soon to make their fathers proud, like he did. This upset Mi Rae because she didn't have a father and had recently broken up with her boyfriend for personal reasons. Talking about her father, Mi Rae remembered what happened 11 years ago when she had kicked her dad out of the house. Then, just a year ago, there was a motorcycle accident where a man died on the spot, and they were shocked to find out that the motorcycle belonged to her dad. They quickly called the woman her dad had been living with. Upon hearing the news, both Mi Rae and her mom, Yun, were silent, especially Yun, who couldn't believe her ex-husband had passed away. Coincidentally, tomorrow would be the anniversary of his death, so Yun thought about holding a memorial ceremony. However, Yun was also stressed because the new apartment owner, Jae-gol, wanted to live there, which meant one of them had to move out. Of course, they didn't want to leave since it was hard to find a nice and affordable apartment in the area, even though Jae-gol had the right to the place as the new owner. This made Yun worried all day, but she told Hyun-jae not to tell Mi Rae, as she didn't want to burden her. Not long after, Mi Rae came home. She was welcomed warmly since she had just received her paycheck, meaning it was time for her family to get their share. Even though she was annoyed, Mi Rae still gave them money, especially for Hyun-jae's college tuition. But soon, her paycheck was all gone, and Mi Rae had to stay up late working, waiting for next month's pay. Her mom, understanding the situation, told Mi Rae to stop paying for Jae's tuition because he could get a part-time job. However, Mi Rae refused since she had promised to support Jae until he finished college. The next day, to avoid burdening Mi Rae, Yun decided to handle the apartment issue herself by meeting with the previous owner's daughter. Suddenly, the woman cried, saying she was just a single mom with 4 kids who desperately needed money, so she had no choice but to sell the apartment for her children's future. Jong then showed a chat with Jae-gol, where he was flirting a bit, and in the end, Jae-gol agreed not to choose their unit. At the office, Mi Rae was busy on her phone and didn't notice that Tae Pyong was there and saw that she was headed to the 10th floor. Meanwhile, Yun pretended to cry in front of Jae-gol, begging to stay in the apartment. She talked about her financial struggles and bad luck, and Jae-gol agreed to think about it. But it seemed the new apartment owner wasn't Jae-gol after all, cause it was the man who always carried wooden matches. Later that night, Mi Rae was relaxing with her co-workers. She told them about her ex-boyfriend, who still tried to contact her. The reason they broke up was that he relied too much on his mom, even having her cut his nails. When Mi Rae found out, she ended the relationship immediately. Her friend wanted to introduce Mi Rae to someone new, but she refused because she wasn't interested in marriage right now. Not only was she still hurt from what her dad did, but she also wanted to focus on taking care of her mom and younger brother. When Mi Rae got home, she was annoyed to see her mom preparing a memorial ceremony for her dad, someone she believed was no longer part of their lives. Her mom tried to explain, saying that even though her dad was like a stranger to them now, Mi Rae was still here because of him. She said the ceremony was a final goodbye. This made her think back to her childhood. For Mi Rae, who was never close to her dad, her mom had always been her escape from all the problems caused by her dad, especially when he broke their family apart. Her mom had done many jobs just to support them. When Mi Rae got a job at J+, she happily shared the good news with her mom and asked her to stop doing odd jobs. Mi Rae promised to take care of all their living expenses. Her mom eventually agreed, and they held a final memorial ceremony for her dad. However, since no one felt sad, her mom pretended to cry to make the ceremony more meaningful. Suddenly, their dog, Metal, started barking as if it saw something invisible, scaring them. They felt like the spirit of Mi Rae's dad was really there. Her mom was so frightened that she fell down. But to their shock, they soon found out that Mi Rae's dad was still alive. Jae-gol then arrived and introduced Mr. Moo-jin as the new owner of the apartment. Going back to 11 years ago, after the divorce, Yun thanked Moo-jin for giving her custody of the children. Moo-jin kept begging for them to get back together, but he eventually gave up, leaving him heartbroken. The reason for their divorce was that Moo-jin used to be an athlete, but had to give up his career because they married too soon. Despite that, Moo-jin was confident he could become a businessman. Unfortunately, his confidence made him careless, and he often borrowed money without thinking it through. Within a month, his business went bankrupt, and it happened repeatedly, leaving Yun to suffer from his financial failures. Back to the present, Moo-jin was buying furniture recklessly, acting like he was rich. Not wanting to evict any tenants, he decided to fix Unit 302, which had been damaged in the fire. Jae, who was always interested in money, quickly approached his dad to find out more, even though they thought he had died in an accident. But Mi Rae suddenly appeared and gave Jae a sharp look, warning him to stay away from their father. At that time, Mi Rae wanted to make sure Moo-jin knew that they no longer had any relationship. She asked for the return of their apartment deposit, making it clear that they would be moving out soon. Mi Rae also told Moo-jin that he should only contact her, not her mom. After work, Mi Rae and her mom started searching for a new place to live. However, they faced a problem that rental prices had gone up a lot, and deposits were expensive. Even though it was hard, they didn't give up and kept looking. Meanwhile, Jae checked apartment prices and was shocked to see how much money his dad had, and it was billions of won. After days of searching, they still hadn't found a new place, and Mi Rae was getting exhausted. At the same time, Moo-jin was happily greeting the neighbors, reminding them of his past and showing off his success. This made Jong Hyuk suspicious that Moo-jin might be the one who caused the fire in Unit 302. On the other hand, Tae-pyong, who lived nearby, noticed Mi Rae looking confused in the elevator because she forgot to press the button. Tae-pyong quietly helped her out. Later, while cleaning his home, Moo-jin told his maid not to touch a strange bag he had. After that, Moo-jin sent Hyun-jae to buy food. But when he lit his cigarette, a neighbor greeted him. Moo-jin smiled, though he felt like the neighbor knew him, even though Moo-jin wasn't an old resident there. This made him seem like he was hiding something. There was something odd about Moo-jin, and it was this habit of using wooden matches and the mystery of where he got the money to buy the apartment. Meanwhile, Mi Rae, who was already feeling stressed, became even more upset when her ex-boyfriend suddenly showed up and confronted her. He refused to admit that they had broken up, saying he should be the one to end the relationship, not Mi Rae. This made her feel really embarrassed, especially since her co-workers, including Tae-pyong, witnessed the whole scene. Out of shame, Mi Rae tried to avoid her co-workers. Understanding how she felt, Tae-pyong offered her a ride, and this brought them closer. When Tae-pyong noticed that Mi Rae had a small injury on her knee, he gave her some medicine before saying goodbye. On the other hand, the residents of the apartment building were gossiping about where Moo-jin got so much money. Some of them even started betting on it. Jong Hyok's wife, Se-ri, shared her husband's suspicions, which made everyone laugh, especially Jong-in, who was tired of hearing Se-ri's husband's baseless theories. That night, when Ae-yun came home, she found Moo-jin waiting for her. At that time, Ae-yun froze for a moment, but then remembered that Moo-jin was her ex-husband. As she tried to leave, Moo-jin told her she could stay in the apartment without paying rent. Elsewhere, Tae-pyong was practicing taekwondo, but his mind kept wandering, thinking about what had happened earlier with Mi Rae. At the same time, she stood outside the taekwondo studio, remembering how it used to be her mom's little shop, a place where they once hoped their business would succeed. On the other hand, Ae-yun warned Moo-jin that the money he had was the last bit from their insurance payout, and he shouldn't cause any more trouble. If he did, they would be completely ruined. As months passed, their little shop became busier and more successful. But their happiness didn't last long. Moo-jin borrowed money again and ended up going bankrupt. Because of his debts, they had to close the shop to pay everything back. Mi Rae, who was very angry, said some hurtful things to him. Now, both Mi Rae and Ae-yun can never forget that painful memory. The next day, to help Mi Rae, Ae-yun withdrew her small savings. However, after visiting many places, Ae-yun still didn't like the boarding house options Mi Rae had found, making Mi Rae even more frustrated, especially after seeing Hyun-jae's Instagram story.
New house, 이사, 아빠 flex. 우리 아버지 좀 못해. 하트.
This led to an argument, as Mi Rae felt like her mom wasn't serious about moving. Mi Rae was determined to prove that she didn't need any help from Moo-jin. Later, Ae-yun met Moo-jin at a bar. Angry, she asked him why he bought the apartment, convinced that he did it just to bother her. Moo-jin finally admitted that he did it because he wanted to get back together with Ae-yun. He explained that he had worked so hard to reach this point, and he thought it was only fair to want his family back. Ae-yun was speechless after hearing this. But Mi Rae, who was watching from a distance, got angry and ran toward Moo-jin, ready to attack. On the other hand, Tae-pyong, who misunderstood the situation, thought Moo-jin was just an old man trying to flirt. However, when Ae-yun called Moo-jin dear, Tae-pyong was shocked and realized that Moo-jin was actually Mi Rae's father. Even so, Mi Rae felt satisfied after kicking Moo-jin earlier, making it clear that there would be no peace between them. Meanwhile, Myung-gyu, who had just finished drinking, suddenly remembered that the night before the fire, he saw Moo-jin walking with the apartment owner. This made him wonder if Moo-jin was really the one who started the fire and caused the owner's death. The next morning, the supermarket was suddenly crowded with girls who came just to see Tae-pyong, leaving Mi Rae confused. The real reason behind the crowd was Mi Rae herself. When she fainted earlier, Tae-pyong had bravely carried her, and that's how the girls found out there was a handsome security guard working there. Now, when Tae-pyong saw Mi Rae, he greeted her and apologized for what happened the night before. However, Mi Rae asked him not to tell anyone who her father was, threatening to fire him through her connections at the main office if he did. But Tae Pyong didn't plan on revealing anything. He just wanted to apologize. Meanwhile, Ae-yun kept thinking about Moo Jin's offer from the night before, where he said she could stay in the apartment without paying rent. When Mi Rae brought a new tenant to replace their deposit, Ae-yun told them to leave because she had decided not to sell the apartment. Mi Rae protested, but her mom explained that it was the best choice. With free rent, they could save more money and eventually move to a nicer home. Ae-yun also reassured her that she wasn't going to get back with Moo Jin. Later, Mi Rae met with Moo Jin and told him not to get too proud just because he gave them free rent. She reminded him that during their divorce, he never gave her mom any money. Mi Rae then asked what his real goal was. Moo Jin finally admitted that he bought the apartment because he wanted to be a father again. He made a deal with Mi Rae that if he couldn't win back his ex-wife in 4 weeks, he would give up the apartment. Hearing that, she agreed to the deal. On the other hand, Myung-gyu, who suspected that Moo Jin might be involved in the death of the previous apartment owner, quickly went to Chun-sik's shop, the husband of Mrs. Huang, to buy a lock. But while he was there, Moo Jin suddenly arrived, scaring Myung-gyu, who quickly hid. Since Myung-gyu lived in the basement unit, which people rarely passed by, he felt the most threatened. Meanwhile, Jae-gol, who knew about the deal between Moo Jin and Mi Rae, clearly didn't agree with it, but Moo Jin didn't care. In the afternoon, Myung-gyu was happy because Chun-sik brought him the lock he wanted to buy the night before. But when he found out the lock was bought by Moo Jin, Myung-gyu panicked. Things got worse when, after Chun-sik left, Moo Jin showed up. This led Myung-gyu to gather the neighbors and tell them that he saw Moo Jin with the apartment owner before the fire happened. This made others speak up too. And Jong-in, whose unit was right in front of the owner's, said she heard the voice of a young man that night. Subin also joined in, mentioning that he accidentally saw a tattoo on Moo Jin's arm while he was exercising, and it looked like something a powerful mafia member would have. Mrs. Huang added that after the fire, she saw Moo Jin leave the police station and stop at a store usually visited by former criminals. Finally, Jong Hae-eok, who had been suspicious of Moo Jin from the start, said that he recently saw Moo Jin burning something on the roof with wooden matches, and it's the same type of matches found in the yard after the fire. The next day, Moo Jin started trying to win over the neighbors. He asked Hyun-jae to deliver gifts to everyone, while Moo Jin personally brought one to Ae-yun. However, Ae-yun firmly refused the gift. Meanwhile, Mi Rae, who was about to take the elevator, realized that Moo Jin and Hyun-jae were father and son. The problem was Mi Rae's co-worker, Jae-sub, who liked to suck up to the boss, clearly recognized the voice of Mr. Num. So, they quickly pulled Mi Rae inside, not wanting their secret to be revealed. This was because of an earlier argument where Tae Pyong had run away from home and ended up working as a security guard there. But he didn't care as long as he could live independently. On the other hand, something seemed strange when Jong-in met Moo Jin. Their awkward expressions hinted that they had a special relationship. But right now, Moo Jin was more focused on taking Hyun-jae out for a walk and asking why Mi Rae and Ae-yun were still living in the area. Hyun-jae explained that his sister and mom wanted to prove to the neighbors that they could rise above their struggles. After the mess Moo Jin caused in the past, the neighbors always gossiped about them and looked down on their family. This made Moo Jin angry, so he gave Hyun-jae a credit card, telling him to buy whatever he needed to show off to the neighbors. When they returned home, they ran into Ji-ho. Hyun-jae reported to his dad that back when they rented a room from Ji-ho, Ji-ho always flirted with his mom, which made Moo Jin furious. That night, Moo Jin suddenly got some money from who knows where. He only mentioned that Jae-gol helped increase his wealth. Once again, Moo Jin ran into Jong-in, who reassured him that she would keep their secret. Moo Jin asked about Jong-in's health, which made her look like she was about to cry before she quickly went back to her apartment. Soon after, Tae Pyong invited Mi Rae to dinner and asked her to keep a secret. However, Mi Rae already knew about it and had no plans to reveal anything. They both agreed not to get involved in other people's family matters, each holding their own secrets, which helped them grow closer. But when they talked about Tae Pyong's identity, Mi Rae felt embarrassed, remembering how she had bragged about having connections at the main office. When Mi Rae got home, she was surprised to see a lot of expensive things. It was because of Hai and Jae, which made her and her mom angry. They told him to return everything since they didn't want to accept anything from Moo-jin for free. The next day, the neighbors couldn't stop gossiping, especially after hearing that Moo-jin had beaten up Ji-ho the night before. Mi Rae overheard this and felt frustrated, but Mrs. Huang, who was at the supermarket, angrily confronted Ae-yun, accusing her of hiding Moo-jin's crimes. Things quickly got messy, especially when Moo-jin, who happened to be there, stepped in to protect Ae-yun, which scared Mrs. Huang. And Mi Rae, who had just arrived, stopped Moo-jin and hugged her mom while angrily confronting Mrs. Huang. Mi Rae asked why her mom was being blamed for the actions of someone who was no longer part of their lives. She was furious because when her mom's business failed due to Moo-jin's mistakes, the neighbors had only gossiped and mocked them, and now it was happening all over again. Then, Mi Rae quickly took her mom away from the scene and then apologized to her boss. This made Moo-jin feel really sad. Suddenly, Hai and Jae showed up with a lie detector, wanting to prove what the neighbors were gossiping about. Moo-jin felt even worse, realizing his presence was causing trouble for his family. The next day, Moo-jin called Mi Rae to apologize for what happened and promised that the neighbors wouldn't bother Ae-yun anymore. Moo-jin then went to the police station to explain the fire situation. However, Jong Hyuk, who had been following him, thought Moo-jin was turning himself in, especially since Moo-jin was seen angrily talking to the police. The truth was Moo-jin was upset because the police wouldn't reopen the case. When he noticed Jong Hyuk there, Moo-jin, still angry, told him to gather the neighbors immediately. At a cafe, Moo-jin admitted to the neighbors' gossip, from the wooden matches and the mafia tattoo to being with the apartment owner before the fire. He explained everything to the police and said the only reason he bought the apartment was to reunite with his family. He made it clear that they should stop bothering Ae-yun and her children. In his anger, Moo-jin told Soo-bin to bring him some alcohol. But after it was brought, Moo-jin suddenly stayed quiet, which scared everyone. His real intention was just to treat them, so they eventually felt relieved and happy. This way, Moo-jin managed to win over the neighbors. However, when Mi Rae found out about this, she became even more frustrated. A few days earlier, when Ji-ho was flirting with a cashier, Moo-jin, who had been following him, stepped in and beat him up, warning Ji-ho not to do that again, especially with his family. When Mi Rae was younger, she was very close to her dad, but she didn't want to be an athlete like him. Mi Rae preferred to earn a living and didn't want to marry an athlete either. Despite that, her dad still loved her and gave her a new bike for her birthday, hoping she'd become athletic like him. But now, their relationship is more like two people constantly fighting. Meanwhile, Mrs. Huang apologized to Ae-yun for her behavior the day before. Even though Ae-yun smiled and forgave her, she wasn't as kind as they thought. Shortly after, Ae-yun reminded Mrs. Huang of what they had done to her in the past. When Ae-yun ran into Moo-jin, she asked why Moo-jin's sister didn't know about him buying the apartment. Earlier, Ae-yun, out of curiosity, had called her former sister-in-law using a different number, confused about how Moo-jin suddenly became rich. It turned out Moo-jin had kept it a secret on purpose. At the same time, Tae-pyong, coming home, felt like someone had entered his room. Ready to kick whoever it was, he discovered it was his dad, Mr. Num, who was still trying to convince him to come back home. But Tae-pyong refused again. While out walking, Tae-pyong noticed Mi Rae, who was stressed out because the neighbors kept praising her as Moo-jin's daughter. Coincidentally, Tae-pyong was heading to his taekwondo practice and invited Mi Rae to join him, which left her speechless. Mi Rae didn't know that Tae-pyong was a national athlete. It gave her a chance to release her emotions, and unexpectedly, it brought them even closer. Meanwhile, Moo-jin felt stressed out because the neighbors kept giving him gifts, but he just wanted to be treated like a normal person. However, Jong Hyuk still didn't trust him. The next day, Moo-jin announced that he would give the residents free rent for 3 months. But Mi Rae refused and paid her rent anyway. She wasn't interested in freebies and always made time to block Moo-jin's attempts to get closer to her mom. Even when Moo-jin bought flowers, Mi Rae appeared out of nowhere, like a ghost, to stop him. Moo-jin didn't give up and started racing with Mi Rae. Coincidentally, Tae-pyong almost ran into them, and Mi Rae rented a scooter, which made Moo Jin feel challenged. Moo Jin then borrowed Tae Pyong's bike, leaving Tae Pyong confused by the father and daughter's stubborn competition. When they reached their destination, Moo Jin sighed when he saw Mi Rae's scooter already parked there. In the end, he gave up and handed over the flowers, admitting defeat. On the way to college, Hai and Jae began to complain, saying that Mi Rae was standing in the way of their parents' relationship. Of course, Mi Rae got angry, telling him that she knew better how much their mom had suffered because of Moo Jin. Hai and Jae had been too young to understand at the time, but now he wanted their parents to get back together. Secretly, Hai and Jae skipped class to meet with a successful businessperson. He started thinking about quitting school to become an entrepreneur, which seemed easier. On the other hand, Ae-Yun accidentally saw Jae-Gol on the phone with someone, which made her even more curious about the connection between Jae-Gol and Moo Jin, who seemed to get money so easily. Ae-Yun wanted to ask Moo Jin about it, but strangely, Jae-Gol gave her a creepy look as she left. Meanwhile, Moo Jin visited the grave of the previous villa owner. At the same time, Mi Rae's Tteokbokki product was named the top seller of the month, and Mr. Num praised her for it. However, behind the praise, Mr. Num felt nervous, worried that Mi Rae might reveal his child's identity from the elevator incident. Ae-Yun kept trying to call Moo Jin, but he didn't answer. While walking alone, someone blocked her path. And Mi Rae, who was planning to buy a fridge, became confused because her mom wasn't answering the phone. On the other hand, Moo Jin and Hai and Jae were excitedly preparing an expensive bag as a gift for Ae-Yun. Not long after, Mi Rae arrived, showing off the new fridge she had bought. But when Moo Jin saw several missed calls from Ae-Yun, he immediately panicked. When he called her back, Chun Sik answered, saying Ae-Yun's phone was found lying on the road. Soon after, they quickly split up to search for Ae-Yun. Soon after, Mi Rae received a call from the police. They rushed to the location, where Moo Jin was already furious, even though Ae-Yun appeared relaxed with Se-ri and Mrs. Huang. It turned out that the person who confronted Ae-Yun earlier was Ji-ho, but Ae-Yun fought back. At that moment, Mrs. Huang and Se-ri, who heard the commotion, came to help, causing Ji-ho to flee. However, Ae-Yun didn't let him get away easily, and Ji-ho ended up badly beaten. There, Moo Jin became even angrier, furious that Ji-ho dared to mess with his wife. Even though the situation was over, Mi Rae stayed silent. She chose to walk home alone, remembering the time when she saw Ji-ho flirting with her mom. Mi Rae was angry back then and almost threw something at Ji-ho, but didn't have the courage to do it. Now, seeing Moo Jin fiercely protecting her mom made Mi Rae realize things weren't as simple as she wanted. She wanted to show that they were fine without Moo Jin, but reality was different. Shortly after, Moo Jin followed Mi Rae and apologized for all his past mistakes. He begged Mi Rae to let go of the burden, saying it was now his responsibility as the head of the family. Even though it was hard, Mi Rae didn't want to forgive Moo Jin, who had easily abandoned his responsibilities in the past. In the end, Mi Rae hid in a corner of the park to let out her sadness. However, Tae Pyong found her, and Mi Rae asked him to leave. When it started to rain, Tae Pyong returned to protect her from getting wet, not wanting the neighbors to see her in such a sad state. Meanwhile, it was revealed that Jong had a special relationship with Moo Jin. They had once gotten married quietly without a big reception, not even a proper studio photo, just the cheapest option. Moo Jin had promised to make Ae-Yun happy in the future, but now, things were different from the smiles they once shared. Soon after, Jong returned home and gave Moo Jin the money he had left behind long ago. However, Moo Jin refused to take it. It's unclear whose child it was, but the baby Jong had been expecting didn't survive long after they returned to Korea. The next day, Mi Rae was upset when she found out her fridge had been returned without her knowing. She asked her mom why, but her mom simply said she didn't want Mi Rae to feel burdened and told her to save the money for her future. They argued again, leaving Mi Rae frustrated as she headed to work. However, her mood changed when she ran into Tae Pyong. Her face turned red, and she felt nervous, even though she didn't want to admit her feelings. Unlike his daughter, Moo Jin, full of confidence, tried to win over his ex-wife. This time, Ae-Yun agreed to have dinner with him. During the dinner, Yun advised Mu-jin not to waste money on the neighbors, who were only taking advantage of him, including Jae-gol. But Mu-jin already knew this and didn't mind. His main goal was to get Yun to accept him back as the head of the family. However, Yun believed that divorcing Mu-jin was the right decision since their children's lives had improved, and even Mu-jin had become successful. Yun didn't want to go back on her decision. She said the most important thing was for them to continue being good parents, even if they weren't husband and wife anymore. She also told Mu-jin to stop competing with Mi Rae, who had sacrificed so much. These words left Mu-jin silent for a long time, feeling very sad. Later, when he saw Mi Rae installing a CCTV camera to protect her mom, Mu-jin insisted on helping her. At the same time, Jae-gol was feeling uneasy after realizing that Yun had overheard his conversation the day before. He was worried she might tell Mu-jin about his bad intentions. The next day, even though it was a holiday, Mi Rae still had to go to work, leaving her mom to go out on her own. Soon after, Mrs. Huang and Se-ri took her to a salon for some pampering. They hoped Yun would get back together with Mu-jin, but Yun firmly refused, even suggesting she might find a new wife for Mu-jin instead. Jong-in, who knew Mu-jin's secret, stayed silent as she listened. That night, after coming home from work, Mi Rae was still getting calls about work, which made her frustrated. Without realizing it, Tae-pyong had been watching her for a while. This made Mi Rae feel embarrassed, wondering why Tae-pyong always showed up when she felt vulnerable. However, Mi Rae started to realize that Tae-pyong had stolen her heart, so she asked him to leave and stop getting involved in her problems. Meanwhile, Yun accidentally found Jong-in drunk in front of her apartment. Yun helped her upstairs and tidied up Jong-in's messy room. While cleaning, Yun found a photo that made her feel uneasy. Even though Mu-jin was her ex-husband, Yun couldn't help but feel jealous at the thought that Mu-jin might have loved Jong-in. This made her children confused, especially since Yun kept watching shows about vacations to Thailand every night. Mi Rae misunderstood, thinking her mom wanted to go on a trip to Thailand, so she began planning a trip for them. However, trouble arose when J+ sales dropped, and the supplier of squid for their tteokbokki stopped delivering. This made Mr. Num worried, and he quickly looked for Mi Rae to solve the problem. Shortly after, Mi Rae rushed to meet the supplier, but Tae-pyong, who overheard the conversation, offered to help, claiming he knew the supplier well. On the other hand, Yun remembered when she first met Jong-in, who had just moved into the apartment. Even though Jong-in seemed cold, Yun knew she was pregnant. A few months later, when Yun found Jong-in drunk again, she helped her and gave her warm soup the next day. That's when Jong-in cried her heart out because she had just had a miscarriage. From that moment, they became as close as sisters. But now, Yun couldn't stop thinking that the child Jong-in had lost might have been Mu-jin's. Although she wanted to ask many times, Yun couldn't bring herself to do it and instead took out her emotions at her part-time job as a baseball field ball collector. Meanwhile, Mu-jin, feeling stressed, started drinking and was beginning to give up on his goal of becoming the head of the family again. At the same time, Mi Rae finally managed to meet with the supplier and even bowed down, pleading for J+ to keep receiving supplies. However, the supplier still refused. It turned out that the supplier was actually Tae-pyong's grandmother, so Mr. Num couldn't do much to change her mind. Tae-pyong then gave his grandmother her favorite cake and signaled for Mi Rae to do the same. After that, his grandmother began explaining that Mr. Num had promised many times to promote the local divers as suppliers, but that promise had never been kept, so she decided to stop working with him. Mi Rae promised to promote the divers through her tteokbokki products, hoping to fix the situation. At that time, Mi Rae promised that online promotion would be more effective, and even joked that she would become a diver herself if she failed to promote it, making Tae-pyong's grandmother laugh and agree to give it a chance, impressed by Mi Rae's enthusiasm. While still there, they took a walk on the beach, and Mi Rae thanked Tae-pyong for his help. When he noticed Mi Rae was feeling cold, Tae-pyong gave her his jacket and taught her how to release stress by shouting. Suddenly, someone else nearby started shouting too, and it was Mu-jin, who was feeling down after being rejected. When Mu-jin saw Mi Rae there with a guy, he felt confused. He wanted to be angry, but realized he had no right since he was no longer the head of the family. Understanding the situation, Tae-pyong gave them some space. Moo-jin then told Mi Rae that he came back to make up for his mistakes and to help carry the heavy burdens Mi Rae had been dealing with, even though he knew it was too late. With no other choice, Moo-jin eventually gave up. He also apologized to Tae-pyong, saying that Mi Rae might not like athletes anymore because of him. When Mi Rae got home, she noticed that her old CCTV had been replaced with a more advanced one. She began to feel touched by her father's good intentions, even though she wasn't ready to fully forgive him yet. The next day, while having lunch with her co-workers, Mi Rae accidentally saw Hyun-jae with a businessman. Hyun-jae finally admitted that he had taken a year off from school and promised to pay Mi Rae back all the money she had spent on him. This made Mi Rae extremely angry, especially when Hyun-jae mentioned that their father would help him with his business, even though Mi Rae had been the one working hard to support him. Frustrated, Mi Rae decided to meet with Moo-jin. Meanwhile, Lee-yun, still upset, tried to find Moo-jin, but when she couldn't find him at his apartment, she began to suspect that he was with Jong-in. Coincidentally, Subin passed by and told Lee-yun that he had just seen Moo-jin enter a cafe. However, it wasn't Jong-in meeting Moo-jin, cause it was Mi Rae, who was furious and accused her father of influencing Hyun-jae to drop out of school. In response, Moo-jin suddenly handed her the apartment's ownership certificate, as he wanted to fulfill his promise after losing their bet. At the same time, Lee-yun went to Jong-in's salon to check if she was there, but since the salon was closed, Lee-yun became more convinced that Moo-jin was with Jong-in. She accidentally dropped a photo while there. Meanwhile, Mi Rae refused to accept the apartment certificate from her father, not wanting him to escape his responsibilities. At that time, Mi Rae insisted that Moo-jin should get Hyun-jae back on the right path. But when Mi Rae saw her mom outside, she panicked. She quickly locked the door and hid, afraid her mom would find out about the bet. After things calmed down, Moo-jin stepped outside. But Lee-yun was still there, wanting to go in and check. Of course, Moo-jin didn't let her and quickly picked her up, carrying her away. Angry, she asked if it was true that Moo-jin had gotten Jong-in pregnant in Thailand. With a smile, Moo-jin walked away, knowing that his ex-wife was jealous. This accusation made Lee-yun even more frustrated. Later, while sweeping, Moo-jin appeared again. Lee-yun told him to deal with the yellow car that often made Mi Rae late for work. As a father, Moo-jin agreed without hesitation, but first he had to have breakfast with Hyun-jae. When they returned, the yellow car's owner showed up, angry and accusing Mrs. Huang's grandson of damaging the car. However, it was actually Hyun-jae's doing. The car owner wanted to fight Hyun-jae, but in the end, he apologized and promised not to park there anymore. Meanwhile, Mr. Num was feeling stressed and disappointed because Tae-pyong had refused his invitation to attend his father's funeral, which was happening the next day. At the same time, Jong-in, after seeing Lee-yun drop a photo in front of her salon, finally opened up about her time with Moo-jin in Thailand. It turned out that Jong-in was already pregnant before she met Moo-jin, and the baby's father was not Moo-jin. Jong-in's boyfriend had left her, and as a fellow Korean, Moo-jin stayed by her side to help her. Regarding the photo, Jong-in kept it not because of Moo-jin, but because it was the only picture taken while she was pregnant. At that time, Jong-in really wanted to return to Korea, but she didn't have the money, so she had to work in a night bar. Jong-in laughed as she recalled what Moo-jin said when he found out about her job. Moo-jin even gave her all his money, so she could go back to Korea without continuing to work like that. Moo-jin was reminded of a woman struggling to raise her children because she had chosen the wrong partner. Even though he was divorced, Moo-jin never forgot about Lee-yun and their children. The reason Jong-in kept her past a secret was because their jobs were embarrassing, including Moo-jin's. Since his feet were the same size as the women there, Moo-jin became a shoe model, and the shoes sold very well. Although it was embarrassing, Moo-jin only cared about making enough money. Lee-yun laughed at this story, though she was still puzzled about how Moo-jin had become so wealthy. Meanwhile, Moo-jin smiled to himself, confident that Lee-yun still loved him. That night, Mi Rae made sure to remind Moo-jin that he needed to help Hyun-jae forget his obsession with business, even though Hyun-jae was happy living with his dad. The next day, Moo-jin went out with Jae-gol, who looked nervous, afraid that what Ae-Yun overheard would get back to Moo-jin. But all Moo-jin was thinking about was how to win Ae-Yun's heart. By chance, Ae-Yun ran into a customer who always asked for freebies. When she confronted the customer, the woman got angry, but luckily, Moo-jin appeared and bought everything, making the customer feel embarrassed. Not only that, Moo-jin waited outside, looking cool, just to give Ae-Yun a gift and walk her home. This gesture began to soften Ae-Yun's heart. On the other hand, Mi Rae was busy planning a trip to Thailand for her mom, even though her mom didn't really want to go. However, Mi Rae had already bought the tickets. At work, Mi Rae felt very confused, but she didn't want to cancel her vacation, so she pushed the product launch a few days earlier. This made her very stressed, having to stay up late to handle everything. Luckily, Tae-pyong noticed and helped her out. The next day, Tae-pyong had to attend his grandfather's funeral, but he became the subject of gossip among other families there. It turned out that Tae-pyong wasn't Mr. Num's biological son, but the child of the previous leader's other wife. Soon after, Mr. Num took him in to protect the family's reputation. This made Tae-pyong feel like a burden to the family, which is why he ran away from home as a teenager. Unable to handle the gossip, Tae-pyong left, even though Mr. Num tried to stop him. Meanwhile, Ae-Yun caught Hyun-jae leaving Moo-jin's house. Hyun-jae admitted that he had taken a break from college to focus on his business, and that Mi Rae told him to stay with Moo-jin. This surprised Ae-Yun. Mi Rae eventually managed to launch her product quickly and received lots of praise. With that, she could take her vacation peacefully, hoping to enjoy the trip to Thailand with her mom. However, when Ae-Yun found out about Hyun-jae, she felt sorry for Mi Rae, who had been working so hard to support the family. By chance, Moo-jin met with Ae-Yun, and they discussed the situation. Moo-jin promised to take good care of Hyun-jae and guide him back on the right path. At the same time, Mi Rae, who was trying to go home, found Tae-pyong lying outside, which made her panic. Since she didn't know where his boarding house was, Mi Rae thought about taking him to a hotel. Meanwhile, Ae-Yun shared her feelings, admitting she felt embarrassed and sorry for Mi Rae, because as an older person, she was relying on Mi Rae to carry all the burdens. Ae-Yun got drunk, and Moo-jin had to take her to a nearby hotel. But there, they ran into Mi Rae, who got angry seeing her mom with Moo-jin. At the same time, Ae-Yun was also upset when she saw Mi Rae with another man, leading to a big argument between them. The next day, Mi Rae, who was on vacation leave, decided to run away from home but canceled her trip to Thailand. Coincidentally, she ran into Tae-pyong again, while Ae-Yun grew even more frustrated and took out her anger on Moo-jin, especially after receiving a message from Mi Rae asking not to be found. When Ae-Yun tried to go search for Mi Rae, Moo-jin, noticing that Ae-Yun had a fever, stopped her and took her back home. On the other hand, Mi Rae went to Tae-pyong's boarding house, where two of his roommates assumed they were dating. With nowhere else to go, Mi Rae decided to stay. However, she had only packed clothes for the warm weather in Thailand, and since it was cold, she had to wear whatever was available. This caught the attention of the guys there, but Tae-pyong, being considerate, quickly gave her a jacket. To cheer her up, they had a small barbecue party with drinks to lift her spirits. At the same time, Jae-gol was stressed about his child's tutoring bills. His money was gone, and his credit card was maxed out. He thought about using Moo-jin's name to apply for more credit. But then, out of the blue, Moo-jin called and told Jae-gol that he had just sent him a large salary, which surprised him. Moo-jin did this on purpose, knowing Jae-gol needed money, and even offered to send more if needed. Instead of being happy, Jae-gol felt frustrated because back in high school, he was the smartest student, but now he felt like he was working under Moo-jin. After dinner, Mi Rae saw a message from her mom, apologizing and asking to talk privately, which left her speechless. Mi Rae then opened up to Tae-pyong, and Tae-pyong shared that he wasn't Mr. Num's biological son. Tae-pyong felt like his family didn't accept him, which made Mi Rae feel sympathetic, and the mood became a bit romantic. However, Mi Rae decided to go home. Later, Moo-jin's high school teacher passed away, and his old classmates, including Jae-gol, gathered for the memorial. They all believed that Jae-gol, who was the smartest student back then, must be very successful now, unlike Moo-jin, whom Jae-gol used to tutor. But what they didn't know was that Moo-jin was also there, and Jae-gol, frustrated, accidentally let out his feelings. Thankfully, Moo-jin didn't take it personally, but Jae-gol, feeling guilty, chased after him. He asked why Moo-jin gave him such a big salary, thinking it was some kind of joke. However, Moo-jin explained that he genuinely wanted to help, and he believed that everything Jae-gol had done was worth far more than the money he was paid. Not long after, Ae-yeon arrived at the memorial service, remembering how the teacher had given her a gift when Mi Rae was born. Outside, Moo-jin ran into Cole Hong, a baseball player whose career took off after Moo-jin got a shoulder injury. Now Cole Hong had become a coach. However, other classmates started mocking Moo-jin, thinking he wasn't as successful as they were. Hearing this, Ae-yeon stepped in, claiming she was still Moo-jin's wife, and proudly mentioning that they owned many buildings that needed managing. She was upset because she felt that Moo-jin's old baseball teammates didn't appreciate what he had done for the team. Without Moo-jin, they would never have won the championship. For Ae-yeon, the most important thing was to show that their marriage was a shared sacrifice, not just Moo-jin's, even if he didn't realize it at the time. Back at home, Mi Rae waited, feeling guilty, and apologized to her mom for making her worry. But when she saw 2 glasses on the table, Mi Rae misunderstood, thinking her mom was still involved with Moo-jin. Upset, Mi Rae said she didn't care anymore and told her mom to stay out of her life from now on. Meanwhile, Jong Hyok was still busy investigating Moo-jin's life. He wasn't trying to uncover any crimes, but rather, he wanted to turn Moo-jin's unique story into a novel, believing it would make him a famous author. The next day, Jae-gol couldn't buy food because his credit card had maxed out. Luckily, Jong-in showed up and treated him to a meal, then told him to visit her salon if he wanted to repay her. Jong-in used this chance to get closer to Jae-gol, while Mi Rae, who didn't have much to do, asked Tae-pyong to teach her how to ride a bike. Coincidentally, Moo-jin was nearby and realized why Mi Rae never learned to ride a bike. In the past, when Moo-jin was chased by loan sharks and had to give up his baseball career, he didn't have time to teach Mi Rae and instead turned to drinking. Cole Hong had once advised Moo-jin, but also blamed his marriage to Ae-yeon for ruining his career. When Ae-yeon was about to give birth to Mi Rae, Moo-jin had to do tough labor to pay for the delivery, which led to his shoulder injury. The problem was, young Mi Rae overheard this and blamed herself, even throwing away her bike. Now, Moo-jin felt guilty for causing emotional pain to his daughter. When a scooter rider nearly hit her, Mi Rae suddenly managed to ride the bike smoothly to protect her father, though she ended up spraining her wrist. Both men panicked, even scolding the doctor who treated her. At that time, Mi Rae was clearly annoyed, but Moo-jin was even more upset, not understanding why Mi Rae would protect him. After she was treated, Moo-jin disappeared. Tae-pyong then encouraged Mi Rae to find Moo-jin and give them time to talk openly. When they met, Moo-jin cleared up what Mi Rae had heard in the past. He explained that baseball was just a game, but his real home was his family. Moo-jin apologized for all his mistakes, telling Mi Rae that the greatest joy in his life was having her and Hyun Jae. Mi Rae began to cry, remembering the happy moments she had shared with her father. Then, a new problem came up when Ae-yeon found the agreement between Mi Rae and Moo-jin, which involved Ae-yeon as part of a bet. Of course, Ae-yeon was furious. When she got home, she immediately showed them the letter, and both Mi Rae and Moo-jin quickly apologized, especially Moo-jin, who explained that it was his idea and Mi Rae wasn't at fault. However, Ae-yeon didn't care because by agreeing to the bet, Mi Rae made her feel like she wasn't being respected as a mother. Ae-yeon believed she should be the one carrying all the burdens, not Mi Rae. Emotions ran high, and things got tense. Luckily, Mi Rae's injury made Ae-yeon put the argument aside for a while. The next day, Mi Rae's vacation was over, and she went back to work. She tried to talk to her mom, but Ae-yeon was still upset. Mi Rae felt stressed, trying to figure out how to fix their relationship, realizing that what she said the night before was too harsh. On her way home, Mi Rae ran into Tae-pyong again, who invited her to eat and showed care. This time, Tae-pyong even asked her out on a date for the next day. However, Mi Rae refused, not because she didn't want to, but because she needed to fix things with her mom first. Tae-pyong understood and agreed. Meanwhile, Ae-yun went to Moo-jin's house. She not only tore up the agreement, but also shared her feelings, saying that as parents, they had made things hard for their children, especially Mi Rae. Ae-yun was furious about the agreement because, without realizing it, they had placed the burden of being the head of the family on Mi Rae. In reality, it was their responsibility as parents. Moo-jin apologized and begged Ae-yun to blame him, as it was all his fault. This made Ae-yun feel a bit calmer. The next day, Hyun-jae was being responsible and took out the trash, not realizing that Jong Hyuk picked it up. Hyun-jae wanted to prove that he could be a dependable child, even though it was his first time cleaning the house. While doing this, Hyun-jae accidentally found Moo-jin's secret bag, which no one was supposed to open. He was shocked by what he discovered, and so was Jong Hyuk, who found strange documents inside. At the same time, Ae-yun confided in Mrs. Hwang about how hard it is when your child gets married and leaves. Now, Ae-yun didn't want to burden Mi Rae anymore. She was preparing herself for the possibility that Mi Rae would move out and live independently. But letting go of a child who has been with you since birth is the hardest thing for a mother, and just thinking about it made her very sad. When Mi Rae returned home, she had a surprise plan to apologize for the harsh things she said the day before. She hugged her mom tightly, feeling very sad. Their family problems were nearly resolved, but suddenly, Cole Hong sent VIP tickets for a baseball game that night. At the same time, the previous apartment owner's child contacted Jae Gol, saying there were still unresolved issues with the sale of the apartment. And it seemed like Jae Gol wanted to take advantage of the situation. Meanwhile, Mi Rae started to panic when Mr. Num suddenly called her to his office. When she arrived, Mr. Num simply wanted to praise her for her excellent work and even mentioned plans to make her a manager. However, before that, Mr. Num asked Mi Rae to convince Tae-pyong to join the J+ team. He already knew that Tae-pyong had helped Mi Rae solve the supplier issue earlier, and he was confident that if Mi Rae asked, Tae-pyong would agree. On the other hand, Hyun-jae invited his mom to look inside Moo-jin's secret bag. Ae-yun was shocked to find that the bag contained precious family memories, like baby clothes from Mi Rae and Hyun-jae, as well as a photo album filled with countless happy memories that could never be relived. Inside were childhood photos and their children's artwork, but most importantly, there were pictures that told the story of Moo-jin and Ae-yun's love. Back then, Ae-yun was a cheerleader for Moo-jin's baseball team, and after seeing each other often, Moo-jin confessed his love. However, Ae-yun initially rejected him because she wanted to pursue her dream of becoming an artist and date more people before settling down. Still, Ae-yun eventually accepted Moo-jin as her first love. That night, Moo-jin, knowing Ae-yun wouldn't want to go, took Hyun-jae to watch a baseball game instead. Meanwhile, Mr. Num celebrated Tae-pyong's birthday while talking about Mi Rae. Tae-pyong was angry, suspecting that Mr. Num was using Mi Rae to convince him to join the company. Mr. Num admitted that he did have that plan, but he also revealed that Mi Rae had refused to do so because she respected Tae-pyong's decisions. Hearing this, Tae-pyong smiled, feeling happy that he had found someone who truly believed in him. He then quickly left and invited Mi Rae to meet up. The baseball game started, and Moo-jin was surprised when Ae-yun suddenly appeared, asking for a loan. After thinking it over, Ae-yun decided to let Mi Rae live on her own because she believed it was the best thing for her daughter. Ae-yun asked Moo-jin to help her make this happen, and Moo-jin smiled, agreeing to do anything for the good of their children. Meanwhile, the game turned around, and somehow, Moo-jin seemed to bring luck to Cole Hong's baseball team. That night, everyone was happy, including Mi Rae, who was preparing a birthday cake for Tae-pyong. Since Mi Rae had sorted out her problems, Tae-pyong finally confessed his feelings to her. Mi Rae and Tae-pyong began enjoying their days together, happy like a couple in love, unaware of the plans Ae-yun had made. When Mi Rae returned home, she was confused to find that the door code had been changed. She called her mom, but Ae-yun told her to go to a specific address. When Mi Rae arrived, she was even more confused because all her belongings were there. Mi Rae became angry, accusing her mom of kicking her out, but Ae-yun remained firm, saying that it was time for them to live their own lives, and Mi Rae didn't need to worry anymore. Yun left Mi Rae with a cold expression, but as she walked away, she couldn't hold back her tears, feeling the pain of separating from the daughter who had always been with her. Luckily, Jin was there to comfort her, reminding her that they were doing this for Mi Rae's good. At the same time, Mr. Num discussed Tae-pyong's job contract as a security guard, which was almost up, and offered him a position in the company. However, Tae-pyong hesitated to answer, even though Mr. Num understood how he felt, especially after seeing a picture of Tae-pyong on the wall. Mr. Num had once promised to take Tae-pyong on a bike ride around Korea, but that promise was never fulfilled due to his busy schedule as a CEO. The next day, Mi Rae, still upset, vented her emotions by talking to Tae-pyong, who just smiled, understanding that Yun had done everything for Mi Rae's own good. Meanwhile, Jin tried to cheer up Yun, who was feeling lonely, by doing things she had always wanted to do, like relaxing and being lazy together. In another part of town, Jong Hyuk was still busy investigating how Jin became wealthy for his novel. Things got more complicated when Ji-eun, the daughter of the previous apartment owner, found out from her father's friends that her father had invested in a company called Dragon, but was scammed. Since Jin had played on the Dragon baseball team, Ji-eun suspected that Jin owned the company and had tricked her father. Meanwhile, Jae-gol was confused after receiving complaints from Ji-eun. Suddenly, Jong-in appeared and invited him to have a meal. Jong-in confessed her feelings to Jae-gol, even though she knew he was a single dad with 2 kids. However, because Jae-gol was stressed, he turned down her offer. While Tae-pyong helped Mi Rae with shopping, he efficiently handled everything since he was used to living independently, unlike Mi Rae, who was still learning. But while putting things away at home, Mi Rae didn't notice a note that fell out. In her mind, she kept wondering why her mom hadn't called, and she grew even more frustrated when she saw her mom happily spending time with Jin. Feeling angry, Mi Rae confronted Jin, demanding an explanation. She was upset because she felt like people thought she couldn't handle her own problems. And Mi Rae, who had been working hard all this time, believed she hadn't done anything wrong. Most importantly, Mi Rae couldn't accept the idea of Jin marrying her mom again. Hearing this, Jin remained silent. The next day, Yun visited Tae-pyong, who was busy teaching his taekwondo students. One of the students said goodbye, explaining they were bored and wouldn't be coming to practice anymore. And Tae-pyong, knowing that this student didn't have enough money, kindly told them they could keep training for free. The student protested, saying it wasn't about money but boredom. Hearing that, Yun smiled, seeing how well Tae-pyong handled the situation, making sure not to hurt the student's feelings. Yun could relate to the student's feelings because Mi Rae had once felt the same way. She gently reminded Tae-pyong not to hurt Mi Rae's heart. Meanwhile, Jin started giving advice to Jae. But Jae was still determined to become a businessman. So Jin asked if Jae's desire to start a business was to help others or just to look cool. This question made Jae pause, as deep down, he realized he mostly wanted to look impressive. As they were getting ready to eat, another guest unexpectedly arrived, so they all had to eat together while keeping their family relationships a secret. As usual, Park offered advice, especially to Tae-pyong, teasing him about just being a security guard. Fortunately, Tae-pyong took it as a joke and didn't mind. Later, as Jin drove Yun to work, they shared a moment of affection. Mi Rae, who saw them, was surprised, even though everyone already knew about Yun and Jin's relationship. As Mi Rae was about to enter the office, she was stopped by Ji-eun, but Mi Rae didn't pay much attention. At work, Mi Rae's colleague, who was in charge of a cosmetic product, was struggling to find the right model for their advertisement. They were looking for a naturally beautiful middle-aged woman, but all the candidates appeared to have had plastic surgery. When they saw Yun, they believed she was the perfect person for the ad. Coincidentally, Yun's contract at the supermarket was almost up, but Yun, unsure of herself, asked for some time to think about it. While working, Yun felt sad because Mi Rae was still acting cold toward her. Mi Rae, on the other hand, felt stressed by the awkwardness between them. Luckily, Tae-pyong always accompanied Mi Rae on her way home, and this time, he even gave her a bicycle so she could ride it to work. When Mi Rae arrived home, she became frustrated seeing the house in a mess. As a career woman, Mi Rae wasn't used to handling household chores since her mother had always taken care of the cleaning. This made Mi Rae realize just how much her mother had done for her all these years. She found a note from her mom with cleaning tips and a message saying that even though they lived apart, her mom would always be there when Mi Rae needed someone to lean on and talk to. At the same time, Ae-yeon sat in Mi Rae's room, missing her daughter and crying as she remembered their happy moments together. Without saying much, Mi Rae suddenly walked in and hugged her mom, the one person who was always there when she needed someone. Mi Rae apologized for not realizing her mother's sacrifices and promised to share everything about her day with her mom all night long. Switching to Moo-jin, he was feeling stressed after hearing from Jae-gol about the apartment issues. Meanwhile, during work, Mr. Num suddenly introduced Tae Pi-young as his son, who would be joining the company as a junior, which surprised everyone. Even more shocking was that Mi Rae was appointed as Tae Pi-young's mentor. Before this, Tae Pi-young had agreed to his father's offer, but only on the condition that the contract would be for 3 months, and he would decide afterward whether to continue or not. Mr. Num agreed to the condition, but didn't tell Tae Pi-young that Mi Rae would be his mentor. Mr. Num knew that Tae Pi-young would work seriously if he was with Mi Rae. Mr. Num didn't care about the messages Tae Pi-young sent him, even telling his assistant to block Tae Pi-young from seeing him. Meanwhile, Moo-jin gave Hyun-jae 1 million won as startup money, with the condition that Hyun-jae had to make at least 100,000 won. If not, he would have to go back to school. Ae-yeon, on the other hand, accepted the offer to be in the advertisement. Although she felt nervous, when she was about to leave, Moo-jin was waiting with a rented luxury car, just like those used by celebrities. Ae-yeon had always dreamed of riding in a car like that as a star. However, while in the makeup room, Mi Rae caught her, making Ae-yeon even more anxious. But Moo-jin quickly massaged Ae-yeon's hands, just like he used to do when she was nervous before his baseball games. As the filming started, Ae-yeon was still nervous and even dropped her makeup. Meanwhile, the neighbors were shocked to see Ae-yeon on TV. But thanks to Moo-jin's encouraging words, Ae-yeon slowly started to smile. Many older women often feel sad about their wrinkles, but this time, Ae-yeon felt satisfied looking at her face in the mirror after using the makeup. Suddenly, the people watching the ad, including the neighbors, rushed to buy the cosmetics, and within seconds, the product was sold out. Mi Rae smiled, happy to finally see her mom being something other than just a mother. Sometimes, parents sacrifice their dreams for their children. Now, with the support of Moo-jin, Ae-yeon wanted to chase her forgotten dream once again. However, when Ae-yeon looked at Moo-jin's face, she felt something was worrying him, even though he didn't admit it. That night, Park held a welcome party for Tae Pi-young, although Park mostly wanted to apologize for always giving long lectures. However, Tae Pi-young didn't mind, as he was more excited to go home and spend time with his girlfriend. But when they arrived, Mi Rae was surprised to see Moo-jin there. Moo-jin was checking if the house was safe. Mi Rae understood that, but she still didn't fully accept him as her father yet. When she asked about the status of the apartment, Moo-jin's face suddenly looked sad. Mi Rae was still thinking about Ji-eun's visit. The next day, even though they were dating, Mi Rae still treated Tae Pi-young as her junior at work, which surprised everyone, especially Park. She even assigned Tae Pi-young to handle promotions at the supermarket. Meanwhile, Mr. Num was curious about what his son was up to. When he saw Tae Pi-young dressed as a chicken mascot, he was shocked. Tae Pi-young, who was usually seen as a tough guy, now looked like a silly dancer. At the same time, Moo-jin apologized to Ji-eun for everything, but Ji-eun was still angry. She accused Moo-jin of tricking her father, burning down the apartment, and taking it from them. On the other hand, Jae-gol finally went to Jong-in's salon, but Jong-in seemed to be looking for an opportunity to get closer to him. Afterward, Jong-in invited Jae-gol to Soo-bin's bar, where they were celebrating another one of Soo-bin's birthdays. The problem was Soo-bin had liked Jong-in for a long time, so when he saw Jae-gol with her, Soo-bin gave him a grumpy look. Moments later, Moo-jin, who was drunk, apologized to Ae-yeon, saying he still felt like a failure, just like before. This left Ae-yeon feeling confused. Coincidentally, Mi Rae and Tae Pi-young were eating nearby, and saw Moo Jin walking by with a sad expression. Mi Rae quickly followed him. At that time, Jae took his father to Soo Bin's bar, but suddenly Ji-eun showed up and threw water at Moo Jin, shocking everyone, especially Mi Rae, who had just arrived. There, Ji-eun accused Moo Jin and Jae-gol of working together to trick her father in an investment scam and using that money to buy the apartment. She wanted to hit Moo Jin, but Ae-yeon stopped her, commenting that while Moo Jin might be guilty of something, she believed he didn't cheat anyone. Suddenly, the room fell silent, and Jae also expressed his trust in his father. Soon after, Mi Rae joined in, making Moo Jin feel emotional and bringing him to tears. Moo Jin quickly left the scene. Shortly after, Jae-gol stopped Ji-eun to explain the real story. He revealed that months ago, Moo Jin approached him to buy the apartment, but Ji-eun's father didn't want to sell it and instead suggested that Moo Jin buy a different building. However, Moo Jin still wanted that specific apartment. Many people were chasing Moo Jin for investment opportunities, even following him when he met Ji-eun's father. The man who approached Ji-eun's father was the owner of Dragon Investments. Unfortunately, Ji-eun's father agreed to invest, despite Moo Jin trying to stop him. Jae-gol was the one who connected Ji-eun's father to Dragon Investments, not knowing that they were scammers. That's why Jae-gol had wanted to meet Ji-eun to explain, but things got out of hand. Jae-gol stressed that Ji-eun didn't need to find someone to blame, just like he used to blame Moo Jin for his own failures. In truth, Ji-eun's father had burned down the apartment because his investment failed. The plan was to burn the apartment to claim insurance, but he got trapped inside and died. Ji-eun was the insurance beneficiary. She had many debts and asked her father for help, which left him no choice but to set the fire, leading to the current situation. Realizing her mistake, Ji-eun broke down in tears. Ji-eun admitted that she had blamed Moo Jin for her father's death, hoping it would ease the heavy guilt she felt. After hearing this, Ae-yeon quickly went after Moo Jin to tell him he wasn't at fault. She explained that Ji-eun's father's death was fate, and understanding this finally stopped Moo Jin from crying. When they returned, Jong Hyuk blocked their way that night, begging Moo Jin to tell him how he became wealthy, so he wouldn't be left wondering forever. Moo Jin then went back to Soo Bin's cafe and explained everything. When Ae-yeon's shop was busy with customers, the landlord suddenly doubled the rent, leaving Ae-yeon stressed. As a kind husband, Moo Jin couldn't let his wife give up. Secretly, Moo Jin looked for another shop and met a real estate agent named Ji-ho. Moo Jin thought the shop was perfect and wanted to discuss it with his wife, but Ji-ho said there was only one unit left, and it would sell fast. He even offered to help Moo Jin get a loan to pay the down payment right away. Although Ji-ho seemed suspicious, inexperienced Moo Jin trusted him. In the end, Ji-ho disappeared, and the shop turned out to belong to someone else, leaving Moo Jin stuck with the loan debt. Loan sharks soon came to tear down their shop. Even though things were tough, Moo Jin didn't give up and kept working to survive while searching for the scammer. Years later, Moo Jin heard that the scammer was in Thailand, so he went there, earning money as a women's shoe salesman while continuing his search. After months passed, Moo Jin accidentally spotted Ji-ho. By coincidence, one of his shoe customers mentioned that Ji-ho owned the bar where she worked. This led Moo Jin to follow Ji-ho and learn everything about him. With the help of his shoe customer, Moo Jin disguised himself as a dancer, allowing him to sneak into Ji-ho's bar and find the hidden stash of money. Unfortunately, Moo Jin was caught, and a fight broke out, spilling onto the stage. Realizing the situation, Ji-ho ordered his strongest bodyguard to attack, injuring Moo Jin's arm. But he didn't give up. Seeing a baseball bat nearby, Moo Jin, who was skilled in baseball, quickly knocked out the bodyguard. At that time, Ji-ho, feeling scared, tried to escape, but Moo Jin grabbed his customer's shoes and threw them at Ji-ho, stopping him. Ji-ho laughed, saying no police in the area would dare arrest him. However, Moo Jin remained calm because he had already brought someone who could punish Ji-ho, and it was Madam Song. When Moo Jin had been following Ji-ho earlier, Madam Song appeared and told him that Ji-ho had scammed her son out of 4 billion won, and she had been searching for him too. Now, Madam Song was satisfied and didn't care about the 4 billion anymore. She gave the money to Moo Jin as a thank you because all she wanted was to catch Ji-ho for deceiving her son. At first, he refused the money, but Madame Song explained that her situation was just like him, that they had been abandoned by their families. There, she urged Mu Jin to fix his family relationships. In the end, Mu Jin returned to Korea with 4 billion won, and even got a tattoo on his arm to cover up the scar from the fight. After hearing Mu Jin's story, everyone was silent, unsure whether to believe it or not, as his tale sounded like something out of a fairy tale. However, the first people to believe him were his wife and children, especially Mi Rae, who wanted to call him but hesitated. The next day, Yun, remembering the events from the night before, felt uneasy and tried to avoid seeing Mu Jin. But Mu Jin was already waiting outside, promising to make things right between them. Later, Mu Jin visited Jae-gol to mend their relationship. Jae-gol finally admitted that he had been jealous of Mu Jin's success. Meanwhile, Jae-gol had ended up bankrupt due to his careless trust in the dragon investment. But Mu Jin didn't hold it against him because when Mu Jin was going through his divorce, Jae-gol was the one who fed him. Plus, if they didn't reconcile, he wondered who else would Jae-gol drink and talk to when he was feeling down. Sometimes, seeing a friend succeed can cause jealousy, but friendship is much more important. Meanwhile, thanks to Mi Rae's hard work, her senior asked her to represent the division in presenting a new product to the CEO. This made other division leaders feel jealous, including 2 people who had seen Mi Rae and Tae Pyong dating. Soon after, Mr. Num came to try the product from Mi Rae's division but was not satisfied, leading him to get angry. Unlike Mi Rae's product, which tasted great, Mr. Num asked her to launch it immediately. However, there was a problem that the packaging department was struggling to meet the tight deadline. But Tae Pyong cheered Mi Rae on and was ready to help her as her junior. While having dinner, Yun suddenly received an offer for a new advertisement. However, she was asked to send her portfolio, which confused her. Mu Jin quickly took Yun to a photo studio. As a former shoe salesman abroad, Mu Jin guided Yun on how to pose like a model. Afterward, Yun invited Mu Jin to play baseball, something that always made him smile. She also gave him a brochure showing that a local baseball team was looking for a new coach, believing Mu Jin could do it, leaving him speechless. Yun understood that during their marriage, Mu Jin had put aside his dream of being a baseball player to support the family. Now, she encouraged him to finally pursue what he always wanted. Later that night, Jae presented his business idea, and it was a travel package for pets abroad. Many planes and hotels overseas don't allow pets, so Jae saw this as a business opportunity. He had even developed an app and lined up foreign agents ready to collaborate. Mu Jin liked the idea, but insisted that Jae finish college first to gain more knowledge before jumping into business. However, this upset Jae, who felt like Mu Jin, just like Mi Rae and his mom, didn't believe in him. Meanwhile, a new problem arose at Mi Rae's office when someone posted a message on the company website accusing an employee of dating the CEO's child to advance their career. Everyone, including Mi Rae's co-workers, went silent as they read it. The rumor quickly tarnished her hard work, and nobody confronted her about it. On the other hand, Yun was shocked to find out that Tae Pyong was actually Mr. Num's son. The next day, the packaging director initially refused Mi Rae's request, saying it was impossible to meet the tight deadline for the product. However, after hearing rumors that Mi Rae was dating Mr. Num's son, the director, who was previously angry, suddenly smiled and agreed to the request. This left Mi Rae speechless, as it seemed like her efforts were being judged based on her relationship with Tae Pyong, not her abilities. At work, Mi Rae also noticed her colleagues gossiping about her, which made her feel overwhelmed. Thankfully, Tae Pyong stayed by her side, carrying her home and apologizing for what happened. But Mi Rae reassured him, saying she just needed to stay strong. The next morning, the rumors about Mi Rae grew worse, with some even calling her a seductress. This made Yun upset, and she told Mu Jin about it. Meanwhile, Park invited his team to a meal to clear up the misunderstanding about Mi Rae, explaining that they were all from different families but had come together as one family in the company. He emphasized that Mi Rae's success was due to her hard work, not because she was dating Mr. Num's son. Hearing this, everyone realized their mistake and apologized to Mi Rae, admitting that as her co-workers, they should have been the first to defend her. Mi Rae broke down in tears, thanking them for trusting her and apologizing for the confusion. With that, the issue was finally resolved. However, as Mi Rae arrived home, Mr. Num suddenly appeared and apologized to her. But his true reason for coming was to make the rumors a reality that he wanted to arrange for Mi Rae to marry Tae-pyong. As a father, Moo-jin couldn't accept the situation. Mr. Num had allowed his daughter to become the target of rumors, and what angered Moo-jin the most was the idea of an arranged marriage, which led to a heated argument between them. Mi Rae, realizing what was happening, quickly pulled Moo-jin inside, where he apologized for making things worse. Though Mi Rae was angry, she was also touched to see her father fighting to defend her. Every child feels happy when their parent stands up for them. Since the situation had already escalated, Mi Rae asked Moo-jin to fix the broken sink with a smile. On the other hand, Tae-pyong was also pleased with his father's support that night. The next day, Ae-yeon, who had heard about the incident, felt happy too, especially when Moo-jin talked about Hyun-jae's business idea. Although they were proud, they still wanted Hyun-jae to finish his studies first. Meanwhile, Mi Rae, who found out who started all the rumors, decided to confront them, but not in an angry way. Instead, she gave advice, urging them to learn from a successful neighboring company. Mi Rae emphasized the importance of keeping sales strong, unlike her own product, which had topped sales for 3 years straight. After that, they no longer dared spread false rumors. Meanwhile, Ae-yeon and Moo-jin were starting to feel stressed about the neighbors gossiping about their relationship. Moo-jin reassured Ae-yeon, telling her not to worry too much about the details of their relationship. His main reason for returning was to support Ae-yeon and their children through tough times, and that was what mattered most to him. That night, though feeling unsure, Jae-gol finally confessed his feelings to Jong-in. He admitted that he had liked her from the start, but was afraid to tell her because he didn't feel successful yet, especially since he didn't even have his own house. However, Jong-in didn't see that as a problem. For her, love was about supporting and completing each other. When the holidays arrived, Mi Rae took her mom out for a walk and made it clear that she didn't mind if her mother got back together with Moo-jin. For Mi Rae, the most important thing was her mom's happiness, especially after she had spent so many years taking care of Mi Rae and Hyun-jae. At the same time, Moo-jin met with Tae-pyong, not only to explain that his actions the other day were just him trying to be a good father, but also to give his blessing to Tae-pyong. Later, Tae-pyong visited his father, who didn't mind what had happened. As a father, he understood why Moo-jin acted the way he did. Tae-pyong was grateful to his father for standing up for him, even though Mr. Num wasn't his biological dad. For Tae-pyong, Mr. Num was still his real father. There, Tae-pyong decided not to join his father's company because he wanted to follow a career that made him happy. Mr. Num agreed with his choice, and the most important thing was that whenever they had free time, they could still enjoy biking together like father and son. Meanwhile, Hyun-jae felt confused about his future and decided to leave Moo-jin's house. The next day, Moo-jin was surprised and quickly asked Ae-yeon to help him find Hyun-jae. When Mi Rae arrived, she learned about what had happened. Although she was concerned, Mi Rae wasn't too worried, as she believed Hyun-jae wouldn't go far. And she was right. Hyun-jae eventually came out of his room. There, Hyun-jae finally admitted that he had felt like no one trusted him. Even when his parents divorced, Hyun-jae was left in the dark and was just forced to move without explanation. At that time, Mi Rae and Ae-yeon had done that to protect Hyun-jae's feelings when he was younger. But for Hyun-jae, it made him feel ignored. He confessed that as a child, he was often bullied for not having a dad, but he never spoke up because he felt his voice didn't matter. The room fell silent as they realized that their efforts to protect Hyun-jae had actually hurt him. After the heartfelt conversation, they finally reconciled as a family. Now, Ae-yeon was busy with her new career as an ad star, and she decided to go on vacation with Moo-jin. As for their relationship, they chose to just live in the moment, feeling that having an official label wasn't that important anymore. They both understood each other deeply. Moo-jin then opened up, saying that he sometimes wondered if he hadn't married Ae-yeon, he could have been a rich and famous baseball star. But in the end, he realized that being with Ae-yeon and their 2 kids was far more valuable than wealth, and that thought made him truly happy. On the other hand, Mi Rae was promoted to assistant manager, while Tae-pyong returned to his profession as a taekwondo athlete and coach. Even though they were both busy, they always made time for each other and promised to go through life together, no matter the ups and downs. Meanwhile, Jong Hyuk, who found success with his novel about Moo Jin, decided to keep his success a secret and live a simple life. For him, the most important thing was his happiness, especially since his wife was now pregnant. As the day goes by, Moo Jin became a baseball coach, and Mi Rae congratulated him. She also asked why he never told them about the scam he had gone through before. Moo Jin admitted that he felt ashamed because his family struggled due to his mistakes, so he just wanted to fix everything all at once. However, the most surprising moment came when Mi Rae finally called him dad after all this time. She confessed that she used to hate him, but deep down, she also loved him so much since she was little. Now, that struggle was gone. After all those years, the misunderstandings in the family were finally resolved, and they were ready to move forward with their lives. Hai and Jae finished his studies, Mi Rae continued her career, and Yun kept chasing her dream as an advertisement star. Despite their busy lives, they always made time for each other and enjoyed life as a family. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is never make life decisions while hungry or tired, or you might end up chasing a shoe thief in Thailand. Also, if your dad gives you life advice, just nod and smile cause it's easier than fixing a broken sink.